All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to check out a video from Cinema Shogun where he's questioning did they make the right call by telling people that they were searching for the heart monitor in the Nancy Guthrie case. Well, I think the bad calls came way before that, but yeah, I would say that's probably one of the bad calls. But I think right off of the bat, uh, there was too much attention drawn to the case for it to be a hostage situation. All right, so let's check out a little bit of Cinema Shogun.
Deal with facts. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of speculation. I do not like pointing the finger at innocent people. So in my coverage, I try to rely on reliable sources like law enforcement agencies themselves. But as I've been covering this Nancy Guthrie case, giving you guys information directly from law enforcement, it's been really frustrating because I give you info directly from law enforcement and then law enforcement changes that info 30 minutes later, an hour later. Or we'll have FBI saying one thing, sheriff's department saying another. So this case has been mishandled all the way around the board. The crime scene was contaminated, you name it. And one of my biggest issues with how this case has been handled is how we have been given like heads ups, like when something's about to go down, like that SWAT bust that happened when they busted into that person's home and detained him and his mama, and then there was a traffic stop down the road. Remember that day? Like 8 hours before the SWAT bust, we all knew it was going to happen.
I agree. If this was any kind of a hostage situation, would we be seeing any of this on no, if this was real and these were professional people handling the situation, we would not be seeing, hey, we're going to be at this address, we're going to bust these. I agree with the kid, right? But this was from the word go. If this was real, we have a problem. Why? Is because the family was making videos to the so-called kidnapper, and the police and FBI had no clue that they were talking to a kidnapper or a hostage situation. So do you folks understand? How does the family make videos talking to a hostage situation, and the FBI and police or no one knows that this is even happening? They came out and said we had no idea this was even going on, that they were communicating with a hostage or uh, a kidnapper. Yeah, this is crazy. How you doing, Colt? Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, you're ordering some pizza tonight. That's good. Chow down. No, this is a video that we're watching of Cinema Shogun, and he's ranting about how come we are being tipped off, telling people the government's telling people go here, go there, go, when in reality, if this was real, you wouldn't be hearing any of this.
You had media and everyone following around the SWAT teams trying to find their location. We knew hours and hours ahead of time that a SWAT bust was about to happen that was connected to the Nancy Guthrie case. Now, just to think about how dangerous that could be. And as you think about that, let's go ahead and roll this clip and let's see what Trump had to say about this entire situation today. Let's go ahead and roll that footage, and then I'll be right back with more.
Nancy.
Boy, it's so crazy. It's so bad. I didn't like when they were talking about going after the pacemaker and before they even started going after it, they're coming and reporting it. So if in fact they could do it that way, the person would say, well, I'm not going to let that happen, right? So bad things would happen if he not going to let that happen. I can't imagine why they would have done that. And just in terms of strategy, just one little piece, I don't know, but we have to start reporting on other subjects also and see what happens. It's a very sad situation.
Sir, they're trying to take off.
President Trump, you are so right. Why would they even be reporting that? Well, sir, from day one, why did they even say this? Why did they even put it on social media? Why did they even go to the news? Why were they even allowing the family to communicate with kidnappers in a hostage situation without FBI, police, CIA, or Homeland Security being there? Is my question, sir. It would have never broke the TV screens until it was solved. What I mean is the kidnappers, the hostage takers, might not wanted from the get-go this kind of attention to the case. Therefore, 18 days later, you got to start looking for a signal on pacemaker. If she ain't already gone from day one saying, get rid of that package, it's too hot and it's causing too much heat. And then you have to figure if they did keep her alive, well, now they need resources to medication, food, a doctor to keep her alive. And that we know that they brought too much onto this case, made it too big, and didn't have enough evidence to even figure out what was going on. And if you ask some people, sir, within your branch, they had no idea this was even going on until it broke on media. All right, let me see what Kelt's saying. How would they stop media from going there? They wouldn't call media and say, we're going to be at this house. Media would have had no idea this was going on if there wasn't leaks within our branches, our police departments, all for money. And maybe Nookie, I don't know. Someone is leaking serious in the case. I'm guessing it's higher up levels. Well, there you go. Kelt also said it's all a farce. What do you think? It's very sad that people go through this stuff to make a movie, to get a story, to make money, whatever it is, or to divert people away from other things that are occurring in the United States.
If the whole point
Yeah, I have to take off. I'll come back.
All right, thanks.
All right?
Yeah, thanks.
Or do I have to? Maybe I don't have to. Have a good
I
time.
think you have
Thank
to.
you.
I think you have to.
Sit down.
All right.
Exactly. I am glad that someone like Trump is calling this out. I could call this out all I want, but my platforms are small, right? What I have to say, my opinions aren't going to reach as many people as Trump. So I'm glad he called this out, because during that SWAT bust, I remember telling you guys in my videos, I remember talking about how dangerous this was, because they kind of gave a heads up to whoever kidnapped Nancy that the SWAT team is coming now. Now think about the person who kidnapped Nancy. It's going to be hard, but put yourself in their shoes. Obviously, they're probably an evil, demented, crazy lunatic, right? Now, if you give that person a heads up that police is about to bust into their home, they could run away and get away, or they could do something bad to Nancy if she's still alive.
No, we said that last week, kid, but you're on the right path. You're on the right path. Right? All these reporters, these YouTubers that we've been seeing, go to this house, go to that house. Something's going on. There's this, that, suspects, yada, yada, yada. Before it even happened, if these people did know anything about the case and they were getting raided or whatever, it was going down at their house, all they needed to do was send maybe a message in the mail, get rid of the package. A message in email or whatever, whatever, get rid of the package. They're on to us. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That could have happened. I find it weird that they let people know where they're going to just watch social media and buy a scanner, and they'll tell you exactly where they're going to be showing up. I guess I don't know. That's pretty crazy, though. In a high profile hostage situation, you would want to keep it off of social media. You know how long they went before they made Zodiac Killer public? Years and years went by before they finally came out and said they think they're dealing with a serial killer. Count says, technically, I've heard that is not legal, but our politics are very, very socialist. Nanos is going with the political flow, if you will. No, I'm sorry, Kel, but my mind is not for rent to any god or government. Always waiting for the case, hoping for another day. Bam, bam. The thing is penning.
And when it comes to the signal sniffer, like, yeah, okay, I'm glad that y'all have this technology. I'm glad you're using this technology to look for Nancy. It's relieving, right? It's reassuring to know that you're going through all the stops. You're exploring every angle that you can to find Nancy. So I'm not angry that they got the signal sniffer. But when you come out and announce, hey, everyone, we're about to launch the signal sniffer. We're going to be sniffing for Nancy's signal. What message does that send to her possible kidnappers? If they got Nancy and they're afraid that her pacemaker is giving off a signal, and they're afraid, damn, they look out, oh my God, there's a helicopter out there. Think about it. Whoever kidnapped Nancy, they're probably tweaking on drugs, or at the very least, they're insane. You got to be kind of insane to kidnap an 84-year-old woman. So for all we know, they could release the news about the signal sniffer, and whoever has Nancy could try to make that signal end. We don't want our signal to be sniffed. We don't want you to sniff the signal coming from Nancy's pacemaker, so let's make that pacemaker stop working. You guys get where I'm going here? So yeah, that's frightening and that's scary, and it just shows you that's just one of the many ways that this case has been mishandled.
Well, that's true. That's true. The people, the kidnappers, the hostage holders might say, Well, they're trying to do something, sniff out the signal, whatever. We got to get rid of it. Now, what would they do? Well, we all know how they would get it to stop. Now, depending on what kind of technologies these hijackers have, kidnappers, could they remove it surgically and keep her alive? Yes. But they would need an artificial heart pump, which, if they have money and they're cartel and got billions, like these people said, then it's possible they could have that ready or even own their own hospital. And they would have to get the heart monitor or a pacemaker out of her to stop the signal. But if they had the proper tools, yes, they can keep her alive. How long? I'm not sure. Let me see what Cout's saying. Where in the heavens? I miss Debbie. Debbie, where are you? Debbie is gone. She had a train to catch. She had she she had somewhere else to be.
And when I say the case has been mishandled, people think of small little details. I'm not harping over small little details. That's a huge deal. Because for all we know, Nancy could have been alive, and then they released the info, or we're flying overhead with the signal sniffer, and they could have ended Nancy's life right then and there to try to make sure that they don't get caught, right? So that's a big deal when we're dealing with life and death. We're not dealing with just a little situation here. We're dealing with life and death, and they could be putting Nancy's life in even more danger than what it is. If she's still alive,
Well, I agree with you, Cinema Shogun, but I think the case got too hot too fast, way too fast for the kidnappers because they're not rocket scientists, right? They're good. They knew they were in the house before you see them on camera or somebody was told, maybe radioed, called, whatever, hey, step in front of the building, make it look like we're trying to get in the front as we leave out the back. And that might be. We have no idea because they disconnect the camera. So they could have made it look like they left out the front or were covering something up when really they went out the back. For all we know, after they broke that camera or whatever, uh, there could have been a car parked there. A lot of people ain't wonder. A lot of people are like, "What do you mean?" Well, they could have blacked out, meaning it could have been a black vehicle, dark color vehicle, but they drove in with no headlights, no tail lights, therefore invisible. So you're not seeing the car on camera, but it's close by. And they put the people in the car and they drive away with no lights on. And then they turn the lights on after they get so far away. They might have had night vision. They might have been able to drive without having the headlights on. Numerous things. Let's keep going. Coach says, leaving for the pizza. Catch you later. Yeah, yeah. You have a good night.
by coming out and releasing some of the information that they have, and it's weird to me how they have no problem. Hey, we're deploying the signal sniffer. We're sending out the SWAT team. It's related to Nancy. They have no problem telling us that, but they won't tell us if it was forced entry or not. There's small details that they should be telling us, and there's other huge details that they should be hiding from us. We don't need to know when your SWAT team's out here about to make a bust, but we probably do need to know if this was a forced entry or if someone who knew Nancy had access to her home and went in there and snatched her up. But hey, like I said, I could rant about it all day. It's not really going to get anywhere. I'm glad Trump is talking about it, though, because now the pressure is being applied. But for now, apply some pressure down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. While you're down there, apply some pressure to that like button. Apply some pressure to that subscribe button. If you're feeling generous, you could donate. Apply some pressure to my Cash App or Super Thanks.
All right there, folks. I posted Cinema Shogun's channel in my chat and description. Make sure you go over there and sub. Good kid, good channel. Got some good points. I can tell you that. I agree. But I think they made the mistake right off the get-go by letting it go viral or whatever, or being released that before the police and FBI even knew what was going on. So very interesting. Is this a cold case? I don't know. Is it going cold case? It might be. Who knows? Did they make a lot of bad calls? Well, it's history. They've been making bad calls for a long time, folks. Look at our country. Look at the shape of us. You folks have a great night. We will be back with more content